Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the TSG Bikecast. This week, we're going to finish our chat with Shane Flint from Tour Bikes. We're going to chat about building bikes, going to the Handmade Bicycle Show a bit more, and just turns into just a general chat about bikes in general. A few tangents, and a good time was had. So, follow me at the TSG Bikecast on Instagram, and you can watch also on That Stoked Guy on YouTube if you like to watch podcast episodes. And also follow Shane at Tor Bikes, TOR_bikes on Instagram. Give him a follow and give him some support. He's doing some really cool stuff. So, I hope you enjoy the final part of this episode with Shane Flint from Tor Bikes. Enjoy it.
It's a funny thing, I didn't get much. At that point, I was getting requests for hardtails, and I was still making hardtails, but making it dually for myself. And I got a really awesome article in Pink Bike, got some really good exposure for that dual suspension bike, but not much interest other than that. So no real genuine inquiries, which I thought was interesting, but I kind of understood because it's to something like a gravel bike or a hardtail, you can kind of get what that bike's about by looking at geometry. They're quite straightforward. So people are quite happy to sort of put their money down for that sort of bike, knowing with a bit of basic knowledge of bikes, they know what it's going to be like. The dual suspension bike is a bit different, being that there was none, that was a one-off, and there was no real way of knowing that it actually worked other than me telling you it worked.
Yeah.
It was difficult to get interest in it. And so I was sort of prepared to get in and make a few more, but I just sort of put it on the back burner for a while, just to work out whether the dual suspension thing was going to be something I pursued. And so for the next year, I had plans of having a trail version of the same bike. And that year is the first year that was cancelled with lockdowns. So yeah, it never happened. But after sort of when the date for that show came and gone, a guy from Melbourne got in touch about the trail bike. And his name's Jamie, and he said, have you got a trail bike design? I'd like to get him out into, he's I think mainly road bike. I think he'd ridden mountain bikes 20 years ago and was sort of only a roadie, and then decided to get a mountain bike. And I said, yep, I got a trail bike designed, happy to build it for you. And did some sizing with him and did some tweaking back and forth. And I had a trail bike design for him in his size, and he was happy to trust me and trust the design. And got into that and got that made for the following show, which was last year.
Yeah.
It's definitely the best dually I've made, and like all the little niggles and things that I'd been playing around with my bikes, I had them sort of cleaned up, and everything's spot on for his, and his bike turned out awesome. I lowered the travel because he was after a trail bike, and I kind of figured that a trail bike was probably going to have more chance of selling than an enduro bike, which mine were. Just that that's the more popular type of dual suspension bike. So
was that the was that the Zenith?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, right. That thing looks sick. Yeah,
it turned out awesome.
Yeah, it looks awesome, man.
Yeah, and Jamie, he got a pretty awesome color-coded paint job done by Velocraft in Melbourne as well, which really sets it off. And I'm lucky that he went down that way, because for me, it was a perfect show bike. It looked amazing. And it was the bike where I feel I got everything perfect, and it was pretty awesome. So again, I've sort of got that design ready to go, and I had plans of, rather than offering that as a custom bike each time, I was going to come up with a range. I guess production bikes, I have 4 set sizes with set geometry, rather than have to deal with customizing that bike every time I built it. So I've got all that I've got all that design sat in the computer at the moment. But I found, as I did the first time I had a dual suspension bike at the show, I got, again, another really cool article on Pink Bike and some really good coverage, heaps of good feedback, and yeah, lots of interest in those articles and things, but very little interest in making one. So I think for the same reason, I just don't think that a small brand with a dual suspension bike, I think the way I'd make it work is to have a range of them made and then have them tested, or give them out to magazines for test rides, or have an ambassador or something. I think for that dual suspension market to sort of take off, I need to give the market more confidence. So I'm still sitting on that. The bike's awesome, and I'm set up to make them. I've got a design done. I just need to work out how to get to sort of give a potential customer confidence in that bike, without going bankrupt. Because to make a few of those and have them as test bikes or demo bikes is quite expensive.
Absolutely.
So yeah, again, this year, all my inquiries and orders since the show have been hardtails, gravel bikes, and bike packing rigs. Even though my main bike at the show was that bike.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's something I'm still trying to get my head around. How I go about bringing that bike to the market. It's expensive. It's expensive because of the fact that it's made here and it's made by a bloke in a workshop in Beechworth. But it's not horrifically expensive, especially when you're comparing to a lot of prices on bikes at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, it's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that is still in the back of my mind at the moment. I'd like to have more dual suspension bikes out there. But yeah, it's just it seems like it's going to be a tough market to break.
Especially with so many bikes out there now, and then you've got like brands like Polygon and Marin and stuff that are bringing out these quite cheap enduro and dualies for like pretty budget prices, really. Like bicycles online, they're just selling out of these bikes constantly. You're seeing more and more of these Polygon Siskiyou enduros. They're like $3,000, and people are out riding dualies now. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. And I know that the market for any sort of handmade bike is, it's for someone who wants something unique and something different, and they're prepared to pay for it. And that's certainly the case with hardtails and gravel bikes and things. But they turn over, and there's plenty of those people out there who are willing to go down that handmade or custom avenue. It's just the dualies is a whole other kettle of fish, it seems.
Absolutely.
So whether it ever happens, I don't know. I'll just sort of keep plugging away at it, I guess. I have played with the idea of getting an ambassador, having a brand ambassador who is far better at social media than I am, because I'm pretty bad at it. I know some of the other brands in the UK have some really awesome ambassadors that are out there, destroying trails, and can ride and are good at social media. And I think that goes a long, long way. I just don't have any experience in brand ambassadors and how to go about getting a brand ambassador. It's a tough one. I don't want to just go out and sort of advertise or put a shout out, just get a whole lot of people who either just want something for free or aren't coming from the right place. So I'm hesitant to just sort of put it out there. I understand. On the other side, I don't know how to go how to sort of go about it. So So
It's a
yeah, if
very
anyone's got any ideas.
yeah. You heard it here, guys. If you got any ideas, get on to me or Shane, and we'll help you out, mate, as much as we can. It's a tough game, man. You know, I worked for World Trail for a long time, and it's just trying to push everything out there. Like Glenn Jacobs just has this. I know he has this really good eye for social media and what he does and how he promotes the company. I've always admired, and I've tried to replicate it. And then you realize how bad you're at social media when you start putting your own stuff out and go, oh, it's not as good as it was in my head. Yeah,
That's right.
it's amazing how some people do it so naturally.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think again, it's a bit like the brand name thing. I cringe every time I, put a photo of something and like, oh, am I doing this right? It seems a little bit wanky, but it's not, and I know it's not. But I've just got to get over that sort of, that feeling that I'm not doing the right thing. It's just unnatural. It's really unnatural to me.
Yeah, well, we're not 20 years old and we don't live on TikTok, so it's a bit harder for us as older guys, to keep up with everything going on, man.
True.
So
that's true.
The next thing I want to talk about, a lot of my listeners we love talking about trails, we love talking about bike design and stuff. So you're speaking earlier about fillet brazing. So bikes are generally TIG welded, aren't they, when it comes to alloy and steel and stuff? What's fillet brazing? Explain that to us.
Yes. So traditionally, bikes were fillet brazed. So it's a process. It's an oxyacetylene process. So basically a flame, and you're using there's a few different types of fillers, but essentially a bronze or a silver solder alloy to build a fillet up on the steel. So it's actually not welding. You're not melting the parent metal. You're essentially call it gluing it together with metal, is I guess one way of explaining it. So what it allows you, so it uses less heat than TIG welding, and it builds a bigger fillet, and it allows you to clean the joint back to something really smooth, something that's seamless. So when I first started making bikes, I actually didn't have a TIG welder, and I did have an oxy. So it's like, fillet brazing is the way to go, because I had all the gear already, and it was something that had been used forever to make bikes. So it was fillet brazing. So it's slower. It's quite a painful task to clean up the brazed joints. It takes forever actually. It's there's a couple of days work in every frame just in filing and sanding all of the joints back to a seamless finish, but it comes up amazing. You can't see a joint anywhere. You can't see, there's no sign of a joint. The whole thing's just seamless from front to back. But it's a lot of work. And most frame builders, I think, will begin brazing their bikes. And then once time becomes an issue, so once you start getting more and more orders and you want to put bikes out quicker, TIG welding becomes a thing. So TIG is much quicker. It's quicker to weld. There's no cleanup involved, and it's a much more common way of putting a bike together. So only recently I've invested in a TIG machine, and I TIG welded in the past, so the welding part of it was quite easy. So I now can braze, but also TIG weld. So I've got a plan to release some production versions of a hardtail next year. I've never had any bikes in stock before, so I've sort of decided to, once I get over the next few orders that I've got going, make a few hardtail frames to have in stock for the people who they want something unique, but they don't really want to go down that custom path. They don't want to have to, customize a bike to fit them. So I think that's one part of the market I'm missing out on, the people who want something unique, but don't want to go down that, and they want it then, and they don't want to go down that sort of custom path. So I'm going to come up with some production versions of the hardtail next year, and to make that work, I need to TIG weld them to make them more economic. So that's where I decided to invest in the TIG machine, and So yeah, the bike behind me there,
Yeah.
that's TIG welded. That's the third frame I've done fully TIG welded.
Yep.
And so, but I'll continue to offer both. So I think I'll have TIG welding as the standard option on a frame. And if you want something that looks amazing, then Phillip brazing is still the go.
Yep. It's cleaner.
Yeah, Phillip brazing it's an awesome process. It's quite fun to do. It's messy, it's slow, but it's fun and it's pretty rewarding once you're finished up with it.
Yeah. So with the hardtails, you're going to sort of manufacture as a stock thing. What sort of geometry are you looking at? Is it going to be like a more XC focus or an enduro focus or something in between?
No, it'd be an enduro focus. So the hardcore hardtail, that's another cringy term, you know, but that rowdy hardtail bracket, which I'm a huge fan of.
Me too.
I ride mine, you know, 9 out of 10 rides is on my hardtail, and I love the challenge of riding it on gnarlier stuff. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. I'm a huge fan of that category, and so yeah, so it'll be that. So I've refined mine. I've built 2 or 3 for myself now, and I think I know where the sweet spot is in terms of geometry.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to something like a Norco Torrent is an awesome bike. Most brands now actually have a pretty awesome rowdy hardtail.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It'd be like that. 150 mil travel fork, 66-degree head angle. On a large, I think I have a reach at 485 from memory. 440 chainstays, 75-degree seat angle. Yeah, so which is for me, which is basically what my bike is now. And that's a large, and I've also got extra large down to small as well. So I've got all that sizing done.
Can you switch them out between 29 and 27.5 and mullet? Are there options there?
Yep. Yeah. So I switched up quite a bit. So I often run it 27 plus front and back. So 2.8 tires. At the moment, I've got 29 on the front and 27 plus on the back. And sometimes I'll run 29. So yeah, I'll make it so that it suits all those tire sizes.
That's awesome.
It's really cool to be able to swap in and out. So I can you know, do an enduro race on one weekend on the hardtail, then throw on some 29 fast rolling 2.2s and do a gravel race the next weekend. You know, it's pretty versatile. So yeah. I think that's a key to that bike is making it versatile. It's obviously not a gravel bike, but you know, it could be you know, set up well enough to, if you want to do a cross country race, you can. You know, it's not gonna be as fast as a carbon cross country bike, obviously, but you know, it can do it.
Yeah,
it can be set up to do whatever.
Yeah, versatility, man. That's the key. You know, with bikes being, you know, so expensive anyway, everyone wants to try and find like an all-round sort of bike, you know. And I think it's the same thing with hardtails. You know, you want something you can XC, you can go rowdy, enduro, you can do it, you can go gravel riding, bike packing, whatever. You can switch it out to do heaps of different shit. And so I think that's pretty important in today's climate because we all can't afford 3 $10,000 bikes. You know, it's like it's just not on the cards anymore. Yeah.
I think that's the most all-round versatile bike. I think would be exactly what I said with mounting points on it. So it's only something I've been doing this year is the sort of bike packing side of hardtails. So that bike behind me there is a bike packing. It's probably closer to a gravel bike than it is a hardtail, but uses the same tubing I use on a hardtail, has a similar geometry. And I started making forks as well. So in that world, you know, rigid forks with the capacity to take gear is pretty important. So yeah, I started making forks as well, which is pretty cool. So I'm sure I'm going to be asked to build a sort of rowdy hardtail with enough mounting points to carry bags at some point.
That'd be pretty cool.
Why wouldn't you? Because I'm sure there's people probably already doing it or already thinking about it. So,
Yeah, and that's the thing, with not being
yeah.
able to travel as much at the moment. A lot of people are doing a lot more bike packing. I work at Falls Creek, and the amount of people I've seen come through town already when I'm at work out the trails on like gravel bikes out bike packing out to like Mount Mackay and heading out those ways. It's just phenomenal, more than I usually would see up there at this time of year, and that's awesome. I'm all for that.
Yeah, it's huge. We Beechworth, we get a few different bike packing races sort of come through or around here. In the last 2 or 3 years, there's races like the Vic Divide, the Hunt 1000. There's the Indy Pack, which is more of a road endurance event. But those events, I think on the weekend or 2 weekends gone, there was the Mallee 1000, which was a gravel bike packing race from Torquay to Swan Hill and back.
Okay.
And they had a huge field. They would have had 50 or more entrants.
That's awesome.
Which is massive. Yeah. So there's a lot of the popularity of a bike that can carry gear. Generally a gravel bike is huge. And I've built. So the last 2 bikes I built have been similar to what I've got behind me here, which is sort of the bike packing rig. And the next bike I'm making is a gravel bike, which was just going to be a standard gravel bike. And I only got an email from the customer a couple of days ago, and they asked, could they get a few more mounting points put on? So I was like, yep, of course. So yeah, everyone wants that option. It's so easy to add to a bike. They're putting extra. They're just a bottle boss. So the one I did before this was designed around a specific bag and its specific function. So, the customer helped place those points on the bike, which is really good.
Yep.
And this one's more of a generic sort of setup. So I just sort of space them or place them in sort of more general areas. So I think I'll be making quite a few of these in the future. They seem to be quite popular.
That's really cool, and with so much Australian bike pack racing and stuff, it might be a good avenue for you to push into. And even though it's not, the route that you really want, you want to sell dualies and more rowdy hardtails and stuff, but it's still, it might be a niche that might actually fill the coffers a bit to push forwards with your dually stuff. It's weird. It's a weird world, the biking world, isn't it? Like it can change it can change at the drop of a hat. With what everybody's into. Like, look how far enduro racing's come. It's just in the last sort of 8 or so years. It's like now it's what everyone wants to do now. Like every enduro race in Victoria sells out. Every time there's a race, sells out. It's like, it's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I was sort of involved with the Vic Enduro last year. I wanted to race my hardtail. So I hit up Nick, who's running the series for the class. And he's like, yeah, sure. If you think there's enough people, then go for it. So I put the word out, and there were plenty of people keen to turn up on a hardtail. So we got the category, and I think we got one event we had 5, and I think we had because those events sold out in like hours. I think the race at Falls there were 5 of us. I think at Bright there might have been 3. I think Albury there was going to be 7, but they got cancelled.
It's unfortunate.
But they were awesome. And again, so for the next season, I'll be involved again. So they're going to do the hardtail class again. Last year, I supplied prizes just for the hardtail class. Just to get it's an excuse for me to race, but it's also good for exposure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next year, I'm doing the same thing. I'll get involved and do some prizes and promo for the hardtail class of the enduro category for all the races. And hopefully, use that to promote the production version of the hardtail.
Absolutely, man. So are you going to race? You're going to race the first round at Falls? Sick. Good, man.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So last year I raced all the rounds, crashed out of Bright. My first practice run on the Saturday morning, I went up to All Mountain, and it was pouring rain. It was horrific. And I would never choose to ride in the rain at Bright, but it's a race, so that's what you do. So first run down All Mountain, I got through the first bit of technical stuff, which was probably worrying me the most, and then got to a couple of new corners towards the top, which are quite a really tight left and right, and just got through the corner. And then I think I was sitting a bit high up on the edge of the berm on the exit, and I sort of fell sideways, put my hand out, and did something to the front of my shoulder, just stabbing pain through the shoulder. And I sort of sat there for 10 minutes until I sort of could get up, and then hobbled off and got down to the bottom. And first aid, I reckon I sort of did some small tearing in the shoulder, and it was out for a few weeks. But
all mountain in the rain on a hardtail. Not really my thoughts of a good time, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's amazing. I've got two mates who ride hardtails that are made for them, and they're far better riders than I am. And what they can do on hardtails is pretty amazing. And same deal at the race. There was a guy who turned up, and his times, I think, down a lot of stuff at Falls and Mount Beauty were like mid-pack or better of like Bet's class or Masters class. You know, he was killing it. He rode Honeysuckle all the way through. You know, just down Honeysuckle in he was like a good 30 to 40 seconds away from any of us. And his time, I think, would have put him in the top quarter of some of the other classes, which was, to me, shows how capable the hardtail can be in the right hands. You know, I'm not the right person to show how good they are, but there are people out there that can, you know, if they're into it, they can do some awesome stuff on a hardtail, which blows my mind.
Yeah,
and I can feel it too. Like I can ride a lot of stuff around here and ride as quick on my hardtails as I can on my Julie. It's only when it gets really, really rough that the hardtail becomes out of step. So like at Bright, All Mountain is awesome on a hardtail. It's not rough enough to be too much on a hardtail. It's especially with big tires and the right geometry.
Mm-hmm.
The other trails, the more flow trails, you know, Shred Kelly, some of those, the hardtail's faster to me. I just don't see the point in big travel on those sorts of trails where there's no, other than jumps, there's no bumps or roots or rocks or anything.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm a big fan of that category.
I hope to see it grow. You know, it's you know, hardtails again, like we've been talking about, they're getting more and more popular again. Everyone loves a good rowdy enduro hardtail. You know, I've got an NS eccentric, and I love that thing. It's so much fun to ride around here, a big hill and stuff. And and I think hopefully that keeps gaining more traction, and more people are getting into it.
Yep. You look at the UK, there are the hardtail categories of some of their enduros are huge. The fields are huge.
Yeah.
They really embrace it over there. So the idea of getting behind that category at the Vic Series was to try and sort of get that interest. And I think once you get a big enough field, you know, it might grow. It's not going to be the biggest category at any race, but it'd be cool to see 10 or 15 people in the category.
Absolutely. See a good, strong field and make it a really competitive so people sort of take notice of it a bit, you know? Well, man.
To bring out those... to bring out those dudes who can really ride a hardtail. That's what I want to see. You know, who dudes who can clean Honeysuckle and those tracks, you know, easily.
Yep.
Is awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, look, you know, I co-run all the Falls Creek events, man. I'll definitely push the category as hard as I can for our first race. Are you also going to be doing the XC stuff as well? I think it's in January at Falls.
Yeah, I might give it a go. Yeah, so I raced the I think it was the state champs at Falls 2 years ago, last time I ran.
Yep.
And that was in the wet too. So I raced that. So I'll still try and I actually usually run the Beechworth hosts a round of the VIX XCO series. This year we couldn't do it because there's some issues with some land management at the park. So all events are on hold in Beechworth at the moment, which is a real shame.
Oh, no way. I didn't
get on top of that.
Are you able to clarify that? I didn't know about this.
So the mountain bike park is built on two different parcels of land. I guess the top half is Delp and the bottom half is Parks Victoria. And as you know, they've been there for 20 odd years. Just recently, for some reason, we don't know why, Parks Victoria decided to audit some parts of their land and discovered that the trails on their part of Mountain Bike Park were never approved and never officially recognised by them. So they put a halt on any event or any sanction riding in the park on their bit of land, like immediately.
Oh, wow.
So they got in touch with the club and put a hold on it. So the club was able to negotiate a sort of temporary license at the moment to be able to keep the park open, and are still working on a resolution with Parks Victoria. So I think they'll get there. I think it might mean that they'll have to be inspected, what's the word, audited by a trail company or somebody who's qualified to audit trail, similar to what happened at Yakandanda. And once the trails can be approved by somebody, I think then Parks Victoria will then grant permission for the trails to be there. So it's a bit of a downer. Not sure what prompted it.
It's crazy. But again, these things are a process, and it's the process can take a while, but worked in the industry a long time, but once the process gets wrong, it usually gets pushed through pretty quick, and it's just it just sort of sucks that it's going to be pushing into race season. It's disappointing because it's been there for so long. So back, I think, so I was on the club committee for 5 or 6 years, and I remember we tried to get in touch with Park Victoria about that bit of land, and we just didn't get a response. We got nothing. And the people who put the trails in there originally, I think, were talking to Parks Victoria 20 odd years ago, and there was no issue. But the problem was it was never recorded, or there's no evidence of the trails that have been approved. So when the current Parks Victoria crew look into it, they're like, well, we never approved that, so we can't. We have to put holes in things. So they're literally calling them illegal trails, in exactly. Like a sense, and now you've got to go through the whole process.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it'll get there, but so we would normally have had we've had the opening round of the XC series the last couple of seasons here, but this year we just couldn't run it, unfortunately.
Well, that's a real shame, man.
So anyway, hopefully, we get back to being able to host events there.
It's such a great bike park. It's just got a perfect space and everything to set up for XC events. It's all nice and tightly packed at that bike park. You can do heaps of different loops. It's it's such a good spot for that sort of racing, man. Well, hopefully it all works out for you guys. It's
awesome spot for proper old school technical cross country racing. The course that we did the last few years, myself and another mate Luke, we did the course design, and our goal was to make it tough, really technical. So we put the course backwards up some trails that you would normally ride down, and we used a bit of the downhill track, and which was good. It was well received. It was tough, and there was some crashes, but it was really well received. And I think it was Tasman Nankervis said it was one of the best XCO courses he'd win in years in Australia. So just because it was so tough, it was good.
And if Nankervis is saying that, man, that's pretty good kudos.
It was absolutely. But again, I raced it on my hardtail, so I just chucked some 29s on, and off I went. It was awesome. And so definitely try and do more XCO. When it pops up again.
I'm really stoked to have heaps of racing coming back to Falls this year. We're pretty pumped, and we're working hard to work on another new urban stage, a different type of one for the enduro again, and again, we've got 2 days of XCO racing in January, which we're pretty pumped about. So we're working. Once they get in contact with us, we'll start working out what we're going to do for that, and it's going to be pretty exciting to have racing back.
Were you involved with any of the Grind Giro stuff at all?
A little bit, I was at just in the start of the planning stage, but that was left to our main event coordinator. That was all his stuff. So, We're not, because it's so hard to do it now at the moment. They've just sort of put it on hold. It's still on the cards, but it's just going to be a while, I think, until the world gets back to normal and we can. Yeah, but the course was sick. Like we had the crew from, I can't remember what the company's called. They come out and checked it all out, and they were stoked. Like some of the vistas and out across Spion Cop and all that. They were just like, we're going to send a stage down Flowtown, and it's just going to be this huge thing, And unfortunately, the world went crazy, and but we're still planning to do it, and it'll be sick if we do.
I was asked to build a bike for it last year. So there's a little bike show component to the whole thing. So there's a few local builders we were asked to. I've actually got a set of tubes just sitting over there on a bench. It's for a bike that was going to be built just for that event. And they've obviously it was cancelled, and they've said that they're committed to doing it again next year. So that'd be cool. Build a bike for an event, which is pretty cool.
Because the whole thing was going to be like a small expo at the same time, and have heaps of bike brands come in. So I think we've got Sea Otter and that coming as well next year, and I think these sorts of festivals are going to be a more commonplace around Australia as well, where you can go and ride bikes and test bikes and see all these different things that are happening in the world of bikes. Do you think you'll get yourself up to Sea Otter next year and check it out?
I did look into getting involved with it. I think that was back before it was sort of postponed last time. But I haven't looked into it again. But I would like to, even if it's just to go and have a look at it. It'd be cool to be involved somehow. Whether there's space for people like me, a booth or something. So I'd like to. It's a pretty cool event. Proposed 80s, is it? Must be. Actually, I can't remember. I think I did look into it, but I don't know what it is. But
I think they've changed it to I think it's September or something next year. I think maybe.
That's what I thought
in Canberra. Something like that. But I think it's something that's going to be really cool for next year in Australia to have a huge expo like that incorporates just so many boutique brands and just different off the wall sort of stuff. Like I always enjoy watching the coverage of it on Pick Bike and stuff of what's going on at Sea Otter, man. You always see some strange stuff out there. It's pretty cool.
It's cool, man.
So to finish up, man, I always ask this question at the end. So what's next for Shane Flint and Tour Bikes? What are your plans?
I think plans are to continue sort of setting myself up to be more consistent with building. At the moment, like I said before, doing lots and lots of custom stuff, and I'm jumping around between bikes. I want to sort of invest in a bit more machinery, speed up the building process so that I can get more bikes out there. Keep expanding on the type of bikes that I built. So I've sort of gone from everywhere. It's from a road bike to enduro bike at the moment, and there's lots of little pockets in between that I haven't done yet. But just becoming better at building bikes, building them quicker, building more bikes. Just growing in general, I think, and learning more. I've got tons and tons to learn still.
Always learning.
That's the plan. Absolutely.
That's sick, and hopefully more racing and just more bikes, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's more racing, more riding, all of that. It's that's what I do.
Definitely. Same here, man. So cool. So where can people find you on the internet to follow you and check out your bikes?
So there's a website which I think is just tourbikes.com.au, Instagram tour_bikes, and there is a Facebook page which I think this just gets a feed from Instagram. I don't do too much on there. I'll try and put more stuff up to Instagram. I keep saying that, but I need to get into that world a bit more. I do post up most bikes, but I can often be slack and build a bike and get to the end and then hand it over and then not have a photo of it or not even acknowledge the fact that I built it. So I've got to get better at that. And just get the word out more. There's someone making custom mountain bikes in the world, and we're in Australia. So keep working with that.
Yep, absolutely, man. Yeah, well, I'll put all those links into the show notes, and yeah, and try and push it out there a bit more for you. And yeah, sweet.
Yeah, cool.
And yeah, you can find me at the TSG Bikecast on Instagram, and also that Stoked Guy on YouTube, where you'll see our beautiful faces having a chat. I'm
Lovely.
slowly getting better at this video part of the whole thing. I've had some
Yep, very
massive
good.
fails in learning this. It's yeah,
Yeah,
YouTube
right.
University.
Oh, well, that's how you learn.
Yeah, that's it, man. You just dive in and have a go, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So thanks
Yep.
again, Shane. I really appreciate you giving up some
Cool.
time, and we'll sit down and
All
chat
right.
again sometime.
Well, thank you very much. It was awesome.
So that's the end of the episode. I really enjoyed my chat with Shane. He's an interesting dude. It's the first time I've actually sat there and had a really good talk with a bike builder. I'm really looking forward to catching up with him at some races over the summer, and I'm really, really stoked for him to give up some of his time to come and tell us his story. So yeah, once again, give him a follow at Tor Bikes, TOR_bikes, and check out all the cool hardtails and everything that he's been doing. Also follow the Handmade Bicycle Show if you want to see some pretty cool handmade stuff going on around in Australia. Give those guys a follow, and you can follow me at the TSG Bikecast on Instagram and that Stoked Guy on YouTube. So anyway, this is the last one for the year. We'll be back first week of January with a really cool double feature that I'm really, really excited to release. It was one of my favorites to record so far. And yeah, have a great holiday break. Stay safe. Hug your family and friends. Hug your dog. Drink a beer. Ride your bike. I love you all. See you out in the trails.